Previously on Dr. Fundi's Health Matters.
To do with the divorce rate, we ask ourselves at the end of the day. So, accomplishing that requires, and I think Doc, you mentioned, redefining who we are separately.
In the institution, but the pillows are wet almost every night.
And how many of us are not denialists, eh? Yes. Divorce. What does this have to do with divorce? And we spoke about evolution. Let's listen.
Biologically, sex is designed for one main purpose: procreation.
Different types of infidelity, not a very good picture. Physical infidelity, emotional infidelity, cyber infidelity. Connection with more than one person. And sometimes people share partners. That's swinging. That's swinging. And they keep the various relationships separate. Let's look at that one. So swingers are really couples that hook up with other couples. So I go there with my partner. We're in a relationship, we're going with somebody else in another relationship, and we exchange partners. That's swinging. So,
I see some faces that are imagining this manna from heaven.
Yes. So.
But it is an option that many decide to explore, in the duration of their marriages.
Couples who want to spice it up a little bit. So nothing wrong, they don't judge each other. I want to focus your attention on this one. Monogamish. So monogamous, I am in a monogamous relationship, but I am monogamish. So I am mostly monogamous, and I want you to think about yourself. Think about yourself and all the relationships that you've had since you started dating. Don't disclose. But
you've got one main person, but once in a while, you venture out.
Yes. So kissing and making out is okay, but not sex. However, some monogamish couples allow sex. When the person travels, for instance. So it's monogamish.
When you go to Bali.
When you come to Port Edward.
Yes.
Yes.
The conference.
What stays in Port Edward? What happens in Port Edward stays in Port Edward. There is no judgment. So, look at that. Different types of ethical non-monogamy. We have monogamy, we have poly-intimate, swinging, open relationships. I am monogamish. How many of you have been monogamish? How many of you have kissed somebody else? Send a cyber text. Spoken, monogamish, polygamy, hierarchical polyfidelity, solo polyam. Do you know what that one is? Do you all know the hashtag Know My Worth, gang? Hashtag Know My Worth.
Those who are in social media, you will know about the people who are about know your worth. These are the people who, will not accept anything less than what they think they deserve in relationships, in anything. They are independent. They can't be seen accepting gifts from men and whatever. Yeah. There's a group of people like that in social media. We call them Know Your Worth. In fact, that's how they call themselves. I know my worth, son. I can't lower my standards.
So, solo poly, dating oneself, solo poly. I'm dating myself. Polyamory, relationship with multiple partners. Swinging, like I said, the couples. Monogamish, primarily exclusive, but occasionally dating others. Polyfidelity, interesting, it's a closed group. It's a closed group, so it's poly meaning more, but we are being committed to that group. So it's not swinging, it's a group of people that are committed to one another. Polyfidelity. Relationship anarchy, a relationship with no rules or similarities through the traditional monogamy. I make my own rules and my own boundaries, but it's based on consent.
Yeah.
So, how is it different from open relationships? Polyamory or swinging? What I said with monogamish, sorry about that. Both people remain loyal to a primary couple, a primary partner, and they gain consent. If you're gonna like that word dabble in a night of casual sex, like when you are traveling or dating outside of the relationship or kissing, open relationships, the lady at the back asks, this is done if you and your partner are happy with your romantic relationship or want to spice up your sex life and have relationships with more than one person. Polyamory, the catch-all phrase for everything. Ethical non-monogamous relationships as a whole. Partners have sexual and emotional relationships with one another. It's not polygamy. Polyamory is not polygamy. Polygamy means I have multiple spouses. Swinging, we are sharing partners.
Safely.
So we're getting there, Doc. So how do we do this? How do we do this? It starts with having an honest conversation. So communicate openly but honestly with your partners about what it is that your preference is, without the deception. So it starts with that. Your feelings might change. You might not want to engage in this after a while. It might be an interest, it might be a phase, but is your partner willing to be in that phase with you? So you need to check in with your partner. Educate yourself about what it is and what you want and what your preference is. Know what to expect. So if you, on the other end, if you're in a partnership, and this is a potential solution or option for you, your partner comes and presents this option to you, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. And you need to understand whether that is something that you are comfortable with. So know what to expect so that you don't go into something blindly. You would need to set the boundaries that is, and the terms and conditions that is okay for you. If your partner comes, and we know of a gay couple that wanted to explore and they wanted to bring in a female partner into the relationship. So they wanted the femininity, and they both said that. We want a feminine touch. We are two guys, we are rough, we love each other. We want this exclusive partnership, but we want to bring in a woman. And they also had different preferences for women.
Yeah. Yes.
So different preferences for women, and they agreed that each one could have a woman, but they would still have that relationship. So, what
we
would
actually
that be?
asked them,
Yes.
Why do you need two different women? And they said, no, it's because our interest or attraction is different. So a person that he is attracted to may not be the person that I'm attracted to. Yet they were in a committed gay relationship.
Yeah. I think it's also important to discuss your long-term relationship goals. What is it that I want? Is this something that is just about piquing an interest? Is this something that I have explored? Is this something that I've just hidden because I couldn't speak about it? And this is really something that is not going to change over time. So I think it's important to understand, what is the relationship goal? I want to be with this person. I love him or her. I want to stay in this relationship. They love me. They committed to me, but they want an exploration that might lead to a committed sexual and romantic relationship. So are you being open to provide that to your client when they come? Are you judging the relationship? Right now where you're sitting, what are your judgments that's coming to mind? Are you able to move away and say, I cannot deal with this client?
It makes people to get to an uncomfortable zone. As the people, I'm looking at the faces, I see faces that are challenged, definitely out of their comfort zones. Yet, if you can't deal with that yourself, you still have a client to assist. And how are you going to assist that client when you are not open in understanding? We're not saying buy into this thing, do it on your own, but a client will come to you and you don't choose which client comes to you.
Yeah. So what are some of your unconscious biases that you might not be aware of, or your conscious biases? And how do you assist your client? Are you willing to say, listen, I know that there are options. I, however, am not the right person to assist you in exploring that and refer on? Or do you sit in that and not know, but steer the client to make the right choice? You need to be committed. You need to choose marriage, whatever he or she wants. So I think it's important to check in with your partner on a regular basis and establish clear boundaries and expectations from the beginning. Very important, at this last on the list, but it's the most important. Psychological safety, number one, in this relationship. Sexual safety and emotional safety. So it needs to be something that the person is open and transparent about, but also educate themselves about and have the ethics to safeguard the other partner or partners. And that's why it's called ethical non-monogamy. It's about consent and keeping the well-being and safety, physical safety of the other partners at the forefront. Are we seeing a shift in thinking? Are we?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a need for trauma debriefing after this session. Yeah.
We are still here the entire week. If you want to engage further on the topic, we are more than open to. If you need trauma debriefing, we can provide that.
Yeah.
So how do we, what will impact the maintenance of an ethical non-monogamous relationship? So for short, it's called ENM, or it's called CNM, consensual non-monogamous or ethical non-monogamous, ENM. And basically, it boils down to individual differences and social stigma. So I'm going to leave you with a question at the end. We're getting there. But at the end of the day, social stigma, social construct once again. Who is stigmatizing whom? And do I have the right to stigmatize? In the era of HIV, we're all stigmatizing people that we got to know that as, because what were these people doing? How did they get HIV? We were stigmatizing people, isn't it? Has that not shifted? So how many people still today has that type of stigma?
Less than then. Less than before.
Exactly, Doc. So let's keep an open mind. But social stigma plays a huge role. And then obviously individual differences. But let's challenge our individual thinking. Let's challenge how we have been colonized in our thinking. And shouldn't we look at other options? I'm not going to go into that. I just want to focus briefly on some of the problems that gets presented with this as well, because I think it's important. So if you are in a monogamish relationship, because I think monogamy is probably out of the window. Yes. But people in monogamish relationships get bored. They're wanting to be intimate with other people. The pressure to single-handedly fulfill all of a person's needs, one person's needs, becomes quite challenging. Your platonic friendships being questioned. Now all of a sudden females can't have friends with males, males can't have friends with females because the partner challenges that. Being afraid to get too close to anybody because it might be questioned or I might overstep the boundary. Then in polyamory or ethical non-monogamous relationships, there is a hierarchy. There are weird love triangles that might present itself. You might be comparing yourself to the other partners. You have to navigate a complex web of crushes and partners and exes. And the fear of your partner loving someone more than you. But that is even on the other side. And how many people are not in relationships where partners are in unethical, non-monogamous partnerships, and we just don't talk about it. People accept it. So clients come to you and they say, I know that he or she is seeing someone, but I either need to stay in this relationship or I want to stay in this relationship. I've committed. I can't. What will people say? What will I look like? Where do I start? So this is in existence. People are in multiple partnerships, but there's just not a discussion around it. Also, when we consider that, when people are in unethical, non-monogamous relationships, because that person might not be considering the other person's psychological as well as physical safety and taking precautions, people keep quiet about it. So if you then start to explore or open up the possibility for an ethical non-monogamous relationship, it could still just be a discussion between two people, and family does not have to be involved in that. So, and I think that's the difference. Ethical non-monogamous relationships does not need to involve the world. Community and society does not necessarily have to be involved in it. It's a discussion and a agreement between partners that is private. Are we getting more excited about what this might mean for our clients? So evolutionary, we come back to that one, evolutionary relationships. Unleashing the power of mutual awakening in our thoughts and our thinking and our solutions. Like I said, we come back to evolutionary psychology perspective. Monogamy has been seen as a gold standard. Everybody needs to get married at some point in time. By 30, you need to be married and have a child and a white picket fence house. However, there's an open mating market. We spoke about competition. There's an open mating market, and it's about permissive normative attitudes. And the attitude is not something that can be judged by anybody. It's about your open normative attitude. It's about you making a decision about what works for you and your relationship. And like I said, intersexual competitiveness. Doc, I am handing over to you.
Okay. All right, guys. So I think the purpose of this conversation was to say, when clients come and see you with relationship challenges, more often than not, you're going to try and help them find a solution within what is the norm or within what is orthodox. But we are saying there may be instances where you need to explore solutions outside of what you were taught at school, which may actually be acceptable to that couple based on where they come from, their cultural beliefs, their traditional beliefs, or even, the religions that they subscribe to. So I just wanted, so when we're talking with Liezl, I said I'll quote a few examples from the African perspective. Examples that actually show that our forefathers did face some of these challenges in the past. And there were solutions that were put forward which were acceptable to those communities or societies or to the couples. And some of those practices are still happening today. And so as a counselor who's trying to assist that couple who's going through difficulties, are you open to exploring the acceptability of those obviously, you're not imposing, but you are exploring. So, I mean, here, I grew up in the Eastern Cape, and this part of the world called Pondoland. This part of Eastern Cape is called Pondoland. Up until recently, I think even now, there is a practice that is called ukutwala. Yeah? So basically, kidnapping a bride. Yeah? So somebody spotted a certain family with a daughter, and then when this daughter gets to an age that they can be married, they send somebody to abduct that daughter, taken to the new family, and then they send a delegation to her family to negotiate. But by that time, she's already in the other side. From a human rights point of view, it's a no-no, but it's an acceptable practice in this part of the world. And so when you are not familiar with that, and somebody comes with that kind of situation, you may actually advise them to go and see police and report the case, but actually it's something that's acceptable here. So that's just one of the examples. There's another practice here, but it happens in many parts of South Africa. If, for example, Liezl is married to me and I die, I paid lobola for Liezl, and anyway, so I die. Because Liezl did not just marry me, she married my family. Culturally is you are marrying into a family. So Liezl may be given an option of being married by my brother, you know, and she stays in the family. And we call that ukungena. How many of you know that? Yeah. It's a practice that is there because the thinking has always been there needs to be stability. No one must be suffering. There must be no poverty. You don't kick out that widow. She's part of the family. If she's open to taking over one of the brothers, it's not like she's been side-eyeing the brother before. No. But it's something that happens. All right? So, ukungena practice is something that is happening. Also, when a couple is unable to fall pregnant, there would be times where then maybe if the problem is with the brother, then another brother is asked to impregnate her, you know, as part of the solution to the problem of infertility in the family. And it was not looked down upon or frowned upon. It was a solution. It still is a solution to some of the families around. There is the matter of polygamy that we spoke about. Istembu, we call it Istembu, which is acceptable to some of the cultures here in South Africa. So if somebody comes to you and says, my husband has just come back home and he's telling me he wants consent for me, a consent from me because he wants to take a second wife. It's acceptable in some communities or even religions, and you as the counselor, it's not your place to actually judge something like that. But are you prepared to explore such? Obviously, you're not imposing, but it is an option that sometimes is acceptable. And by the way, this thing has got nothing to do with the level of education or anything. I know of people highly learned, they have their monies and everything, but they're open to being wife 2 or wife 3. And so for you as the counselor, are you open to engaging on these matters? I was born in Pondoland, in a place called Libode, a hospital called St. Barnabas. Now, So I have an interest on the Pondo culture and traditions. Now, one of the things that happens in this part of the world, especially here around Bizana, Lusikisiki, going towards Port St. John's. Yes, if you are a man and you don't have a concubine, you are looked down upon as if you are a weak man. Sometimes your wife may have to go and find someone for you. All right? Because when you are unable to find a concubine. So it is something that happens here in Pondoland. I'm not talking far, here. And so if maybe there's a death in the family or something, and somebody comes to my house and they are told I'm not there, my wife will proudly tell that messenger, please go there. It was inkazana yake ipaya, itikazi lake lipaya. That is, the concubine stays there. Today he's not sleeping here at home, he's sleeping there. Now, if you have a client from Pondoland who understands that, you cannot be judgmental. So, how many people here speak Sotho? Those who are in front, who are here. How many people speak Sotho? Is Sotho Tswana Pedi? Right. You guys have heard of a phrase, Munna Kisilepe. Hua adinywa. Right? So, okay, my accent is not right, guys. Ne? But what that means, a man is an ex. You must be open to sharing the ex. That's what the broad Sotho phrase or proverb is. Because in days gone by, men had to go and, cut trees to make firewood for cooking. And so at times the axe will break or something whilst you are in the forest. So you then borrow the axe of the other person so that you can cut the tree and make, firewood. So that's where this phrase comes from. A man is an ex, munna kisilepe, wa adinywa, or something like that. Right? A man is an ex. You must be prepared to lend that axe for others to cut their own trees and make firewood. So if you come from that, community that actually accepts and understands that, so who are you as a counselor to then judge somebody who understands that a man is an ex? So those are just some of the examples to say there are certain practices that are entrenched in the communities that we serve, but we're not open to exploring those solutions with our clients because we actually don't even think we should be exploring those. So I thought, let me just, share those. Liezl, I think you have to wrap up. We're done.
Thank you, Doc. Almost done. Interesting, isn't it? Are we open to assist clients to explore options? Because we said counseling is about us providing a space where people can come and share options and perspectives and learn from it and communicate. Are we providing that safe space? So for those people who choose to not be there, there's a term called conscious uncoupling, which is what we know as divorce, but it's different. It's about doing that in a way that is conscious, where I do it as a growth opportunity, where I learn about my patterns so that I don't make the same mistakes. Conscious uncoupling also assists the children in a uncoupling situation. So I'm not going to go into that. And it is, conscious uncoupling is about happily even after. In conclusion, I want to talk about morals and values. Because I think
before you talk about that, creating happiness even after, right?
yes.
So I told you that I went through this traumatic situation, 98, 99. I think it was the first time I failed in anything. I've never failed in anything before. But that was the first thing I failed in, and I saw myself as a social failure, you know? But through doing that inner work I spoke about, guys, I was able to go back to the market, now much more clear about the kind of partner that would have the least risk. I mean, there's no 100% guarantee, you know? And I've been happy in my second journey. You know, there's a song, I think it's the Whispers or Manhattans, I'm not sure, second time around. Yeah, so it is possible to actually be happy. You know, there's a thing that says some of your worst or a worst situation in your life becoming the best thing ever to happen to your life. You know, so it is possible that this situation of a painful, difficult breakup of a relationship can actually set you up for the best relationship ever.
And it's possible that this very uncomfortable topic of today could actually become, you can become the expert in that to refer people to. So, if we talk about morals and values, morals and ethics first. Morals are principles and rules of right conduct. It's private and personal, and I think that's the important thing. Your morals are private and personal to you. Nobody can dictate what are your morals, and that's very important. So when clients or yourself choose E&M, ethical non-monogamous relationship, no one can judge you. So be careful not to judge yourself in the options.
No one can judge you, or no one should judge you.
No one, you shouldn't allow people's judgment to influence you.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. And it's a commitment to principles and values, and it's defended in daily life. An effect to an individual's character. So if you choose what are your morals and values, do not allow anybody else to dictate. Moral values form the basis of our behavior and actions in different situations. And I think that's very important. They are often derived from sources like culture or religion, family values, laws, and personal experiences. They are integral in shaping the character and behavior of individuals, influencing their decisions, their actions, and their interactions with others. Choose from a perspective of knowing who you are and what works for you. Be open, be transparent, have constant communication. But truthfulness in a relationship is very important, as well as protecting the person's psychological, emotional, and physical safety. Implications, and this is the question I want to leave you. Whose morality are we policing here? And who gave us the right to police anybody's morality? So at the end of the day, think about that. Who made us judge, jury, and executioner? Relationships have evolved for years, and we need to make decisions about our own personal relationships at the end of the day. If we're not able to make a decision about our personal relationships, how do we guide our clients? How do we help them make the right decision for them? Not for us, not for the next partner, but for them. So know who you are as a counselor, as a person, as a partner to others. Know what your morals and values are. Know how you can assist and what your limitations and weaknesses are too. But at the end of the day, whose morality are we policing? And who gave us the right to police anybody else's morality? I'm going to leave you with this slide. This is my final thoughts. So humans evolved from an exoskeletal support, that is a thick, rigid support, to having an endoskeleton, and that is really having our bodies as we have it now, a soft outer. So that makes us open to get hurt. So we are very vulnerable as human beings. We can get bruised, we can get hurt. We can't adapt to the situation. I'm sorry. We can't adapt to the situation if our intimate partner doesn't behave the way we think they should. That's our thinking. We think that our partner must behave in the way that we should. We spoke about standards. We have standards about relationships, but it's ours. Everything is then perceived as a personal attack, an attempt to upset us. And then what happens? The fight is on. It's war all over. It takes great courage to drop your armor, to expose yourself inside, and to come to terms with the reality of what is happening around you. It's a powerful thing to then realize that you can survive it. When we examine our intimate relationship from this perspective, we realize they aren't for finding static, lifelong bliss like we see in the movies. It's about, what is my bliss? What is it that I choose that gives me joy and happiness? In safety, in ethics, and in consent. Relationships are for helping us evolve a psycho-spiritual spine. What is my psycho-spiritual spine? And it's made from conscious self-awareness so that we can evolve into a better life without creating the same problems for ourselves again and again in different relationships. When we learn to find our emotional and spiritual support from inside ourselves, nothing that changes our environment or relationships can unsettle us. Situations we once viewed as problems will be seen as opportunities to reflect inwardly and determine what each circumstance is trying to reveal to us about ourselves. Problems are transmuted into opportunities for growth. Thank you.